So, I promised to answer some of these questions. I'll just answer the ones that are directly related to meditation. And if we have time tomorrow, I can answer some of the other ones, which are a bit more personal. So the first one is a good one. Usually after half an hour of meditation, I could feel that my monkey mind are even clearer than before, and that they are attacking me very frequently. So the monkeys are on the attack. I don't know if any of you have seen The Wizard of Oz. Have you seen The Wizard of Oz? And there's the flying monkeys, the evil flying monkeys. That's the image that came into my head. We just saw a monkey out there, so that might have been one of the advance guard coming for us. However, it gets better. I could still ignore them most of the time and concentrating on my breath in and out. My question is, how could I go further from here in order to go deeper into meditation? So this is all about what we've been exploring. You say the monkeys are attacking you. They're just coming because you keep on giving them food. So they don't necessarily have any bad motivations. That's the first thing. And they're coming because you keep on feeding them. So the way to stop them coming is to stop feeding them. And that means to stop paying attention to them. Stop giving them something that they want, that makes them stronger, gives them more fuel and more nutriment, that keeps them coming back. So remember back to that first day where I introduced the monkey in the tar trap. So the tar is really sticky. And so when we see these things happening in our mind, when we're reaching out and grabbing on and holding on and getting stuck, it's really sticky stuff. And you see that kind of stickiness in the mind, right? The way you try to pull away from it and it kind of like, it's like goo. It just kind of like sticks to that thing and it just seems to bounce back or snap back. It's really hard to kind of get rid of it once it's there. So that's why that prevention is really important. So we learn how to prevent these things coming up. It doesn't mean we stomp on the monkey or kick it or beat it or anything like that. We just get really good at recognizing where peace lies and where unhappiness lies. And so we change our view. We understand getting involved in that stuff is not going to lead to peace. And it's interesting, this idea that they're kind of coming for you, not you're reaching out to them, which is actually what's happening. I mean, there's these kind of underlying tendencies that we have and there's conditions, but usually what's happening when these things are coming at you is that there's a part of you that is actually reaching out to them. There's a part of you that's like reaching, sneaking behind your back and like waving a banana. And then when they appear, it's because you've invited them. These things are not happening to you. We're involved. To a certain degree, there's just stuff happening in your mind the whole time, bubbling away. Pure nonsense, right? Am I right? I'm not looking at anyone in particular, but I'm looking at all of us. Just pure nonsense. And you think, well, who comes up with this stuff? And sometimes we latch onto one of these things and we make it really important. And you could do that with any of the stuff that's floating around your brain. You can be like, oh, if I think about this thing, then that's important because I'm thinking about it. But this stuff is just bubbling, bubbling, bubbling. And it's just because of the habitual tendency of the mind. There's all this stuff going on underneath the surface, like a volcano, and then suddenly something will shoot up to the top. But actually there's a lot of other stuff going on that hasn't got the chance to be given expression. And none of it's really important. None of it means anything in particular. But you may have noticed that over the course of the few days that you've been here, the quality of your thoughts has started to change a little bit. Have you noticed that? Whereas before it was just random kind of nonsense. Now it's becoming more in line with the Dhamma, and you're having thoughts to do with the Dhamma, thoughts to do with the meditation and the practice. And so you see that these things happening in our mind, they're conditioned. While you've been here, there's been a little bit of conditioning going on, and you're hearing some of the Dhamma, you're hearing the meditation instructions, and this is just what your mind is turning to. If you're out there in the world watching television, being exposed to all of this music and media and Facebook and all that kind of stuff, then this is the kind of stuff that ends up bubbling around in your brain. It's just your brain's way of trying to process stuff. The same with things like dreams. Like sometimes we get really obsessed by a particularly powerful dream or a dream that we just happen to remember. And we know that there's many different aspects to dreaming, but a lot of what's going on is just the brain trying to process experience. And so actually dreams are a good example, because you know how sometimes other people tell you their dreams? And it can be a little bit uninteresting, right? Your dreams are interesting. Other people's dreams are not interesting. And so this stuff that's kind of bubbling around the mind, it's like, if we pay attention to it, we make it important because it's our stuff. But if you were to tell other people, this is a list of thoughts I had, they'd be like, I don't care. Whoop. And so if you want to deepen your practice, then you have to learn. And it's such a hard thing to learn, to actually see with wisdom. I have to let go. And it's the first thing I said when we started this retreat. I talked about letting go. And it's so difficult because we still have this habit, we still want to reach out, we still want to grab on. But until we learn how to not get involved, how to stop reaching out, grabbing on, then we're not going to get very deep in meditation. We're always going to stay on the surface. And you can ask your teacher as many questions as you like. You can do as many hours as you like. But until you actually develop the wisdom to understand how your mind works, then you won't make progress. So understand and see for yourself how not getting involved, letting go, helps. But remember to do it gently and kindly, training that monkey very carefully. It can get frustrating because you're like, intellectually I understand this. Experientially I'm finding it really hard to let go, to not get involved. But that's the trick. That's the trick to deep meditation, is letting go. Letting go on a more and more and more profound level. So at the kind of top end, like the surface level, there's just that random stuff that we kind of get involved with, there's work and busyness and all of that stuff. And then as we move down, we discover the hindrances more. And as we move down, the things we're letting go of at a very deep level are concepts of self, identity, me, mine. And so these are all things that are progressively let go, but it's a gradual process. So to get deeper into meditation, just keep going, keep practicing, and keep understanding. So we need to develop the skill of mindfulness, the wise attention that discriminates, and the investigation, and to allow for those hindrances to fade, and for the other factors, the bojjhangas, to come up more. But while there's still a lot of hindrances, and while you're still getting involved with thinking and activity, then you won't be able to get deep. You're just using this time to churn your brain, and that's not really meditation. Thinking is part of meditation, reflecting, reviewing, pondering, that's all part of meditation, but at the appropriate time. Sometimes we experience pain in the same area of our body, such as our back, each time we meditate. And then one day the pain does not arise like it usually would. Can you explain? Things are impermanent, I guess. And often what we find is with our practice is that we have this perception of permanence. You know, this pain is always going to be there. I'm never going to be a good meditator. We have this perception of permanence, and it actually affects the way we perceive our experience. And when we investigate, we see that things are not so fixed, things are not so permanent. And so when we see the regular pain that we have in our body, we start to identify with it as me, mine, my permanent pain. It's always in my knee. And you might have an injury, so there's going to be a cause for it. And you return to it over and over again. You identify with it. And by doing this, you keep on deepening that connection to it, so that it's almost like etched in rock. You know, it's a very deep pattern that you've gotten into. And then sometimes it's just not there. So probably what's happening is you're no longer attending as much to that object. You are not returning to it over and over again. You have got something else going on. And so maybe you're focusing on the breath, and those other things are starting to disappear a little bit. So it's about attending where your awareness is. And also the body changes, you know. So it could be that part of the pain that you've been having the last few days, for example, is just your body getting used to sitting. And then the muscles are maybe a bit tight. It can take 3 or 4 days if you've got a really tight muscle for it to loosen up a bit. And then maybe it's just loosened up and gone. Or maybe your other muscles are now compensating and your posture has improved. So there could be a variety of reasons why the pain disappears. But usually it's because we're no longer attending as frequently to that thing. We've gotten used to whatever's going on there, and we're less interested in it. We're more interested in the breath. So again, just to remind you of some of the images that I've been introducing you to over the course of the retreat. So remember the turtle that tucks its legs and its head and its tail inside. This is a good image to remember as meditation. If you stick your hand out, the jackal will bite you. So if you keep on wandering outside of your meditation shell, then your mindfulness shell, whatever you want to call it, then our mind will get bitten and we will get completely distracted. And so we need to keep on bringing it back, bringing it back, bringing it back. And remember the cow that wants to go and munch on all those things. So this is how we've trained our mind, you know, to go and munch. And so we have to be careful, just keep it in check a little bit. Gentle taps, not brutal. So these images are to help you. So they're quite vivid images that the Buddha used. So just try to remember them. And it helps me in my meditation, you know, like when I see myself maybe wanting to go and munch something, I'm like, oh, silly cows. You know, I bring myself back. You know, this is how we develop wisdom and understanding, and we see it for ourselves. So let's do some practice. We'll do 40 minutes meditation. Okay, so I've been talking for a bit. You know what to do. I can only help you so much. But I care about you, and I wish you the best for this meditation session. So 40 minutes starting now.